I am a girl, by the way. I was just wondering what your response would be to a girl approaching you if she was not very attractive. Not ugly, but not super conventionally attractive either. I know many girls tend to get scared or aggressive when this happens to them with men. However, nothing is universal, so I just wanted to know the general consensus. Story 1. This has happened a couple of times. I try to be polite. I would not want someone to be rude to me in the same situation. I do not flirt or anything. I try to be polite but distant, so that the other person understands that I am in a relationship and that I am not interested in her because of her looks. Story 2. It is always a little uncomfortable, but I suppose that is something that women have to deal with all the time. I would hope that if I approach a woman and she is not interested in me, I will be friendly, respectful, and kind, but not give any indication that I have any interest in her in return. Story 3. Same as if she were attractive. I assume it is some kind of scam and give a half-hearted, robotic answer that will get me out of the conversation the fastest. Story 4. I've had this. I just told her I am not interested and did not insult or make her feel bad. It was not the right time. Story 5. I would reevaluate whether I could find her attractive. 99% of the reason I do not initiate is because I have been hurt many times by women who were apparently not interested. If a woman approached me and asked for a date, I would give it more consideration. Story 6. Polite. Most men understand and have been rejected, so many are sensitive to it. We also do not receive many compliments, and if it is subtle enough, you can start a conversation and see where it goes. We would be flattered if someone noticed us. Story 7. It depends on how they approach. Generally, as politely as possible, I show that I am not interested. I find that most girls are indirect and usually try to start a conversation first or give a casual compliment. In such cases, it is not difficult to give a short but polite answer or thanks and walk away without directly implying rejection. If they ask directly, then I reject directly. There is no need to be rude or aggressive unless they are rude and aggressive to me. Story 8. Whatever my evaluation of her was before, she gets a huge boost for personality if she does that. I will immediately respect her a lot more and would very likely give her a chance that I would never have considered if she had not taken that step. Story 9. The response will depend on how mature this person is. Life is full of human experiences, both good and bad. Take your chance, and if you are respectful, he probably will be too. Story 10. I have been approached more than twice by women. This was not even subtle, it was a direct approach. I turned down both, but respectfully. The first time, I was in university and had no dating experience. The second time, I was already dating someone. I told her that we could continue as friends. Women should also take the step. The worst thing is a no. Story 11. The last time a woman asked me out was a few years ago in a Target store. She was almost twice my age and eventually asked me out after nearly 20 minutes of complaining about her entire family and how difficult they are. I was as gentle as I possibly could be, saying I was flattered but simply not available. That kind of thing. It wasn't enough, though. She was very disappointed, but that is not my concern. Story 12. That is a situation where being naturally oblivious to signals is helpful. Just talk like regular people. If she is very forward and asks you out, just let her down easily. Story 13. I would tell her I am deeply flattered, but I am only seeking conversation. However, I would be happy to talk to her if she just wants some platonic company. Story 14. This happens to me sometimes. I am polite and friendly and reject their advances if they try any. I remember one night at an alternative rock theme bar in the smoking area with my best friend, both drunk. We started singing Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit, and a woman next to us joined in. She showed me her tattoo of corn, and we started having a conversation about music. She then tried flirting with me, and I acted polite and told her I needed to use the toilet, kind of stopping interaction because I did not want to lead her on. I do not fault her for shooting her shot. She just wasn't my type. No hard feelings. I actually go to social places where women with similar interests go. And what do you know? It happened last week when I went to see a band live. A woman in the smoking area saw my Slipknot shirt, said she liked it, asked what my favorite song and album were, and we got talking. Story 15. I take the compliment. I usually say thank you but am not interested. Or I say it in a more subtle way if they are more insecure, but they get the gesture. Story 16. Even if she is not attractive, if she takes the initiative to approach first, she will earn a bonus point. If she is well-versed, then we can have a conversation. Story 17. First, I would feel very flattered and definitely engage. The situation would be extraordinary, and I would be curious to know more about her. In the worst-case scenario, I would politely tell her that I have been through some personal issues recently and do not feel ready to date yet. There certainly would not be a fear response, nor would I give off a vibe that I am being bothered. Story 18. Oh, this happened before. I just listened to her and chatted a bit, but then she revealed herself as a warning sign later on, so I left. Story 19. I would run screaming into the night in sheer terror. Just kidding. In all seriousness, I would be deeply suspicious of her intentions. Women do not approach me unless they are selling something or looking for handouts. I would simply say, no thanks, and go about my business, wondering what her scam was. Story 20. Tell her I am not interested. Women's self-esteem is no more important than men's and deserves no more care or consideration than men receive after unwanted advances from women. Story 21. I am actually more comfortable with unattractive women approaching me than attractive ones, but I will friend zone the unattractive ones. If she genuinely wants something romantic or sexual, I will thank her and decline. Story 22. I would want to get to know her. It is her personality and our chemistry that would decide how I feel about her. Story 23. I am a 46-year-old male. I think it's great to be approached. Kudos to women and others who are willing to put themselves out there. Getting rejected is not fun, so it is a risk to put yourself out there. I assume by approach you mean asking someone out on a date. In this case, it depends. If there is enough potential that their personality could bridge the gap, sure, I would meet up for a date. Many people who are close enough to the attractiveness threshold can easily improve if they are a cool person. But if I can tell that I would not enjoy spending time with them, I would thank them and politely decline. If we go on the date, we would chat, enjoy the conversation, and get to know each other. If I am enthusiastic, I might ask to meet again. If I am not, I will probably wait for them to follow up. They might decide they are not interested, and then I would let them know that I am not feeling a romantic connection, but thank them for their time and wish them luck. If by approach you mean just coming over to chat or flirt, I am generally friendly with people, so I would chat with them, but I would not lead them on. If they seem like someone I would want to be further connected with, I might ask to exchange contact information or wait for them to ask. If they are not someone I want to be connected with, I would not ask and would politely decline if asked. Story 24. One time I was standing in line to check out at Walmart, and a woman who was not conventionally attractive, with a baby riding in her basket, screamed at me from the customer service desk that I was sexy. She repeated it, and when I looked around to make sure she was talking to me, she said, "Yes, I am talking to you." Story 25. It depends on how she approaches. If it is respectful and not desperate or creepy, just respectfully decline. If she is desperate, creepy, and not taking a hint, then I will become more stern and annoyed. Story 26. It happens more often than you think, and not conventionally attractive is a polite way of saying not attractive. I am not going to be angry about that, but I know why they are there. I am not interested, and I try to leave as soon as possible. It is going to be much worse if I sit there and talk with someone for 30 minutes and then tell them that it is not going anywhere. It has happened at work, in public, everywhere. I am not going to be shy about it. I am also not going to stop being a people person. I have had some difficult ex-girlfriends who would take the smallest signal and assume it was a yes. You could tell her no, but if she was not firmly stopped, she would still think it was a yes because she was attractive but somewhat irrational. Story 27. Sorry, I am not interested if there is no hint of potential compatibility or if she is displaying any deal breakers. Otherwise, I might be willing to meet up and get some idea about her personality, as I am not focused on initial appearance and long-term compatibility matters more. This is as long as she is not showing any deal breakers such as being overweight, appearing to come from a rough background, or seeming high maintenance or superficial? Story 28. That's such a strange question, and your title does not match the content of the post at all. Like, she is not a bombshell, meaning she is not that attractive? You are asking this as if the average woman were not attractive to men. I think you do not realize how unattractive a woman has to be for me to have zero physical attraction to her. But to answer, if I have zero attraction, I will be thankful for her attempt, but I will not invest myself in trying to make this go further. Story 29. I can talk about my wife until she goes away. That usually works. When I was single, you try to let them down easy, but they often don't let you, especially if they're drunk. Brace yourself for wildcatting. Story 30. So, I am always flattered every single time. I usually say already tied up or not currently dating. I have never had it pressed further than that, so I do not have any backup responses in case it does. I do not doubt that it has come up infrequently, but I have personally never seen an adult man be mean or caustic in this scenario. I have also never seen an adult woman be mean or caustic in this scenario. I think a lot of the apprehension is based on behaviors that we mostly grow out of during school years. Story 31. I am dating another man at the moment, so regardless of appearances, my reaction is a polite decline. If she seems visibly saddened or nervous, I might add a compliment and encouragement to keep approaching men. Story 32. I do not date in general, and in my experience, the more polite I am about saying no, the more likely the other person is to think I meant yes. If you are just being indirect and trying to drop hints, I will participate in the conversation but ignore the hints. If you come out and say it, I will say no and I will be very rude about it. Story 33. I have experienced this 2 or 3 times when I was in high school. I made it clear I was not interested, but teenagers can be quite stubborn and do not handle rejection well. Story 34. I just smile and say thank you and try to graciously let her down. There is no point in being rude when someone is showing interest. Story 35. I would be flattered, but I would try to be as gentle as possible with my no. To be clear, that is also the reaction I would give if I were attracted to her, being married and all. To be honest, while you may get no a lot, I guarantee you that you will never connect with all the people you never approach. Story 36. It happens regularly. Very rarely do they directly approach me, but once they get tired of waiting for me to make the move, when I had no idea they were waiting, they ask me to take a walk or have a drink with them. Once it dawns on me that they are interested, I remind them that I am married with kids and that I would not want to do anything that jeopardizes my relationship. Either they get mad and walk away or they double down. I am still fending off 2 at the moment who are incredibly persistent and increasingly desperate. One texts me almost every day, and I do not respond. I do not block because I might need the evidence later. The other I do not know well at all, and she has stalked me on every social media platform. I have blocked her at every turn, but she keeps popping up. This is the result of a friendly conversation on a plane. Story 37. It has happened to me. It has never been a bad experience. I usually just politely say no or mention my unavailability early in the conversation. But I will tell you this. I have said yes way more than I have said no. I love a woman who has the confidence to come up to me and say hi. I know how scary that can be, and I love confident women. Story 38. I am trying very hard to let someone down gently right now. She is becoming quite overt about it. Not explicit yet, but she has invited me to stay the night at her place on the couch. I am at least 90% sure she wants a brief fling, but I am just not interested. So I am ignoring the signs and treating her as a friend. I say things like, thanks for the offer, but I have errands to run in the morning, so I need to be at my place. This situation has not happened often in my life, but I try to be civil about it when it does. There is no reason to be rude. It is hard to make the first move, and I appreciate her courage, so there is no reason to make her feel bad about normal human interaction. Story 39. When this happened, I went on a date with them. I kept it at that with no intention of pursuing a relationship or a second date. One and done is my rule for everyone unless I feel a spark. Then again, I was never good at dating and have only gone on about a dozen. Story 40. I would reject her and decline any offer she had for me. I would be more concerned about what she will do when I reject her because some people react negatively when their ego is hurt. Story 41. Depends on how unattracted I was. If there was nothing about her immediate first impression and general appearance that sparked any interest, I would decline gently and politely. If there was even a little bit of something, some kind of indescribable quality, I would take some time to explore it in conversation to make an informed decision before moving forward. Story 42. Depends on the context. Not insulting or anything. You just go along with the conversation but do not follow through. Story 43. Most of the time, just smile and politely tell her I am not interested. Usually, I say that I have a girlfriend. Story 44. I just tell them thank you, but I am not currently interested. I admire the courage it takes to walk up to a stranger and express your interest. You do not have to be rude about it, but I appreciate honesty, so I give them an honest response. Story 45. Since she made the effort to approach me, I will agree to a coffee date. Not out of pity, but I have learned that I am attracted to personality more than physical appearance. If we find ourselves in a conversation that neither of us wants to end, I will be willing to explore what that connection can become. You are right. Few women have mastered the art of respectful rejection. Actually, that is an understatement. They are often deliberately cruel. When I was young, that used to hurt. Now, I am grateful because I get over it instantly. I am also grateful that she showed me who she is before I invested time and effort in her. Story 46. I usually say yes to anyone who asks me out because I think it is brave, and that is worth a date at least. Story 47. It depends on how they approach. If they lead with sex and seduction, I enjoy the show and then tell them no, thanks. If they are polite and genuinely curious, I say I'm flattered, but I'm married and do not cheat. If they do not respect that I'm married and try to convince me she can keep secrets, I laugh and say, no, I know you're lying. Story 48. I am experienced in this field. In high school, I used to say, my religion does not allow me, no marriage until college, and sorry, I do not do girlfriends. Although one or two were attractive, I still said no because I did not care. Story 49. It happened to me once. I got annoyed because instead of being direct, it was done indirectly and in a long, drawn-out way through a surrogate. At least I think that is why, since I was also approached by a gay man once as a straight man and was not nearly as bothered. Story 50. It depends. I have had some heavier women approach me, and I am a really fit guy. I am not asking for a very slim person, more a fit woman, but I am also not attracted to larger women. Story 51. I tend to play it off as if they are not serious and say self-deprecating things about myself to seem like I am an uninteresting person, unworthy of her attention. They still flirt, but I can tell the strong interest is no longer there. If I am single, I even make comments to her friends about a fake date I went on. I have never had a complete stranger ask me out. Story 52. The answer to this question changes drastically depending on the age group and level of maturity. I would be respectful in every situation. Story 53. It happened to me several times, and at that moment, it's like you act on autopilot. I just respond, and when he tells me he is attracted to me, my response is literally okay. Story 54. I would probably just say I had a girlfriend, but I am flattered and will let you down gently. If you knew me well enough to know otherwise, I would just be honest. Story 55. Be careful. Many men may be willing to have a physical relationship with you but not pursue a romantic relationship, and they will say whatever they think will keep you interested. Story 56. I yell, EW, cooties, or stranger danger, and sprint away as fast as possible. Actually, I've had this happen before. She asked to exchange contacts, which I did. I probably shouldn't have, but to be honest, I was in shock. I never made any plans beyond that. If someone is interested, they'll reach out. Story 57. When I was in my early 20s and in the middle of my home phase, I would usually just chat a bit with them. Sometimes that changed my attraction toward her, and I became interested not in the I guess physical attraction is better than no attraction way, but more in the her personality made her so much more attractive to me way. Story 58. Never had this happen. However, I would think this depends on how many women approach that person. For me, it has never happened, so if it did, there is a trap being set by the person talking to me. I would be nice, decline all attempts to make me interact, and watch what I say. I have no idea if she has a wire on, and since I have no idea what the trap is at this point, it could be to catch me saying, agreeing with, or being positive about what she is offering. I have been in business a long time and know that small events like this can come back and cause problems at some point. Story 59. I will tell her the truth about me. I do not just have baggage. I haul cargo. I am a mess, but I am getting better. Now is not the time. I am focusing on therapy and recovery. Story 60. I would chuckle then be on my way. Any woman approaching me is just after my money or my time. I am not going to give those up again. Story 61. It all depends on what the approach is. But if she comes up and has a conversation, then asks for my contact details, I will just say I am not interested. If it is some other approach, then it will likely be a different answer. The advice is to always take your chance if socially appropriate. Story 62. I am really sorry, but I am not interested. I just want to say that I wish you the best of luck finding someone and commend your courage because that is truly attractive. Story 63. It depends on how and when I was approached. Depending on the details, even if I might not be attracted initially, that could change. Story 64. I would very gently let her down. I would probably make up a white lie about not being in a good state to date at the moment. If she presses for more answers, then maybe I would let it slip that I am not interested in her. Story 65. Politely turn her down and tell her that I am not interested, just as I would with any other woman who approaches me. Story 66. Goodbye. This is my response to anyone approaching me in public. I dislike people and have no interest in making friends. Story 67. If I was not attracted to her, then I would reject her gently. While I support the idea that personality is more important than looks, since looks fade over time, there still has to be some attraction. To put it more bluntly, if I cannot imagine being intimate with her, then it is not going to work out in the long run. Story 68. One time, a girl at work asked me for a ride home. She was average looking, and I did not really know her. I ended up saying no. If she had been attractive, I definitely would have said yes. Attraction matters. Just as a girl would not want to be approached by an unattractive guy, neither would a guy. Story 69. Why do women always try to hijack or take over anything related to men? This question has nothing to do with men whatsoever. Please direct such questions to Ask Women. They are seeking attention and validation elsewhere. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.